the wrestling world was watching this past Sunday, right after WrestleCade was complete over in Winston-Salem. And shout out to all those folks who do a great job every year now, 10 years in a row. A bunch of wrestling fans made the trek to Raleigh, North Carolina, to the now famed Dorton Arena, and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat returned. They were careful not to call it his last match, but he was back in the ring for the first time in quite a while. I think he originally retired back in 1994. He had a classic with you at Spring Stampede that year, but later in the year decided he needed to hang it up. Did pop back up for a little bit here and there with Ring of Honor and WWE with some in-ring stuff. But this was his first match back, if you will, tagging with FTR, who we both think a lot of, to take on Black Machismo, aka Jay Lethal, dressed up like the Macho Man, Brock Anderson, who we both think has a bright future ahead of him, and a mystery opponent. The mystery opponent wound up being Nick Aldis. We'll come back and talk about Aldis. I want to ask, did you have a chance to see the Ricky the Dragon Steamboat match?
I did not. And that is not to slight anybody. I just want, it's football season. I watch football.
Yeah.
I do watch, like, I watch Raw. I watched Raw last night. I watch SmackDown. I'll watch AEW if I'm not traveling. Like this week, I probably won't get to see it because I'm in Miami for 3 days. But I always watch SmackDown and Raw just to see what's going on so that I can have somewhat of an intelligent conversation with you. And I watch AEW. I don't watch the Friday show very often.
Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, back in the ring. Were you surprised that he stepped back through the ropes earlier this year? There was maybe some trepidation about whether or not he felt like he wanted to do that. We saw it happen this past Sunday. Do you think that's probably it for Ricky? Have you spoke to him? Do you think he's got more in him? What would you guess?
I have not spoken to him, so I don't know the answer to that. I spoke to him when we were trying to get him to work with us, but he indicated to me back then that he didn't think that health wise he was ready to do it. So it's what makes him feel good. It's like I say about myself. I could wrestle again right now too, and I'd be a lot better than I was at the last match. Because when you're gone away from that long, you forget about little things that make a difference, and you spend so much time getting in shape for it that you don't think about, the little things like dehydrating and beating your nerves. And, yeah, and I was just so into the training part of it, I forgot about little things. But I think he should do what he wants to do. I mean, he's Ricky Steamboat. There's nobody ever going to be. There's only going to be one Ricky Steamboat. And whether he did good or did bad, it's not going to affect his legacy. He's the best babyface in the history of the business, and he always will be.
The other best babyface in the history of the business maybe did have his last tag team match. We'll talk about that in a minute. First, I want to talk about the rest of the folks who rounded out this 6-man tag for Ricky the Dragon Steamboat's return. Dax of FTR might be having his best year of his career. He's even got another big test this coming week, or I guess it's tomorrow, as everybody is, or tonight rather, as everybody's listening to this. He's going to be taking on Bryan Danielson.
Oh,
Dax
good.
and Bryan Danielson. That's about as old school and fun, down and dirty classic wrestling. I'm pumped for that one. I know you'll be in Miami, but I'm going to be glued to the set for that one.
I may be because I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but I'll try and watch that.
And then, of course, I wanted to give a shout out to Jay Lethal, who, man, the little kid in Jay Lethal must be having the best year ever.
I got the greatest Thanksgiving text from him ever.
Oh, really?
Yep. He said, "Think about me and my career. I've got the wrestle you, Sting, and now I'm going to be in the ring with Steamboat."
In the same year.
In the same year.
That?
Yeah. He texted me that. Thank you.
That's awesome, man.
At Thanksgiving. Yeah. So he's a great kid. I didn't get to see the match. Well, it had got Lethal, who's really good, and FTR was really good, and Nick is real good. Probably a lot of pressure on Brock, but I'm glad that's how you mature and that's how you get better.
Absolutely.
Because it's really not fair to judge anybody that's had, like you said, 18 matches. So, but that's how you get better, being around guys that have had a lot more ring time. So, I didn't get to see the match. Was it good?
Yeah, man, they did a great job. I think it exceeded all expectations. I think everybody who was there in the crowd went home happy. It was just cool to see, the Dragon back doing his
Yeah,
thing.
of course.
It was really nice to see Nick Aldis. It feels like we've seen Nick Aldis inside the WWE or NWA rather framework. And so we've only seen like the NWA presentation of Nick Aldis for quite a while. To
Yeah.
see him outside of there for the first time in a while is pretty exciting. And now there's lots of debate. I think
Hmm.
everybody knows that he's a free agent and he's got maybe a month left. And I think maybe next year he's ready to go wherever.
God, I
And now
hope
people
so.
are wondering, will that be WWE? Will that be AEW? Will that be somewhere else? What would you like to see Nick Aldis do?
Oh, I'd love to see him come to WWE.
Yeah,
Or I'd be happy to see him go to AEW. I mean, you can't go wrong either way. It's just who's going to pay him the most. And then I would, as a talent, he has to look where he thinks he has the best opportunity.
of
There's a
course.
lot of competition right now at WWE in the men's division. I mean, Randy hasn't come back yet. Cody hasn't come back yet. You've got Seth, Roman. I mean, well, they've got a lot of competition over at AEW too with FTR and God Omega. I like him as a single a lot. I like um, Dean Ambrose. I mean, they've got there's a lot of Danielson. There's a lot of good talent in both companies. You know, which is good for the business, good for the guys to have the opportunity.